everyone. Today we got to play Rulebenders. Now this is a game by Game Brewer, but before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because board games are amazing and we're super excited to share them with you. Brady, can you tell us a little bit more about Rulebenders?
I can and I will. It's a 2021 release, rating of 6.0, rank is 14,358, 2 to 5 player game. Average length is 45 to 75 minutes. Ours went a little longer than that. We were playing with 5 players, though.
Yeah.
So. Age 10 and up. Designed by Tom Vandewyer. Art by Xavier Gwyneffy Duran. And published by Game Brewer Games. It's got an MSRP of $60, but it's on Card House and Miniature Market for $48.
Okay, cool. All right, so now let's talk about the quality of pieces. So these are very similar to the Terraforming Mars cubes, except they're bigger.
Yeah,
and I do like that because it's a little bit easier on the hand, that grippiness.
But I don't like the fact that they gave red and pink as both playable colors. They look almost identical.
Yeah, I would have liked a purple instead of the pink. I mean, heck, even orange would have been better as far as differentiating. But yeah, that is a thing. But anyway, but I do like having pink. It's always fun. But no, I liked them because they were a little bit bigger. We also have a bunch of wooden bits. Card quality is actually fairly nice. Nice, good linen finish.
Yeah, a good
pretty
thickness.
Good. Yeah, no, overall, though, the card quality is where it's at.
And you got a center puzzle board that you put together, and it does lay flat, and it's a little tight to put it together. So it took a little effort.
It's probably the only way to make it tight. I mean, not to lift up and stuff. And then you have a bunch of cardboard chits, which do have some linen finish on them as well. So texturally, they're very, very nice. Overall, the card quality is really nice for this one. I'm going with 7.5 because the card quality.
I was thinking like 7. So yeah, I think we're in the same range.
Yeah, I was thinking 7, but with the card quality being as nice as it was, I was fine with 7.5.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty good. So now talking about the theme. So, what is the theme for this?
So supposedly you're basically, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of a technological future world.
Oh,
and you've got kind of a little mascot robot here, or looking guy. And you have access to all these different realms that you travel. That you've got like robots and future, and you got, or sci-fi anyway, and you've got fantasy, and you've got pirates, and you've got zombies, and you've got, just dinosaurs.
Breaking Knights was one, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's kind of a little hodgepodge. It's almost like a smash-up, but in this kind of Fallout world, kind of, almost.
Well, it's something. It's something.
Yeah, it's basically, the story behind it is that you went to some kind of a flea market, and you found this technology, almost Jumanji style game that was there, and the person who told you they were working in this science lab in the 50s, and they took it home with them and never returned it, and you buy it at the flea market, bring it home, and your friends come over thinking it's a game, they activate it, and you're transported into the world, kind of Jumanji style, as I mentioned.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all when playing it, but okay, I'm down.
That's the story.
Well, maybe we should have read that before.
I did read it before, but yeah, it didn't seem relevant to the gameplay at all.
It's not. It's not. I gotta say, the art's nice. But the theme isn't really where
it's completely layered on. I mean, I do think the decks were kind of thematic. I thought the card decks were pretty cool. And the effects are
but it's
very
not the
sweeping.
overarching, like there's no real connection.
Yeah, there's definitely no connection between them. It's very Smash Up-esque. You're just throwing in 4 decks out of the 6 decks to play, and you may end up using the other ones too, as we found out.
Yeah, theme-wise, 6.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's probably a 6. It does have a story. The art is pretty good. And the decks do evolve. The decks
are cohesive, right?
Yeah, they're cohesive with the theme.
But I'm just not sure what the overarching theme. It's not very why did they use the science
it
symbol?
Was built in a science lab.
But then they have the warning.
Yeah, it looks like a nuclear science center in the 50s. It makes sense from that perspective. Why it has any bearing to this game, I don't know. So
I don't know. And it there. So yeah. Anyway, we've gave our diagnosis something. All right. So talking about the rule book, though.
So yeah, the rule book.
You read it. I didn't listen.
Of course, that's nothing new. It's 16 pages in length. The first page is just the backstory. There's no real cover. Then you go into the components for a couple pages and setup for a couple pages. You go into the game overview, the round overview. It's not that difficult to pick up and learn this game. It's pretty straightforward, as by using your straightforward terminology. And then straight into the scoring. The rule book's pretty well laid out. I've seen some complaints online about some problems with the rule book. I didn't see any. I don't think we ran into any questions about things. Now, maybe specific cards were a problem for certain people, because there is a lot of iconography. There's an iconography chart on the back. No cheat sheets, really. It would have been nice to have had this iconography on a cheat
I saw
sheet.
that multiple times from you.
We took pictures of it on everybody's phones. And we kept having to pass this around.
Yeah, it might be one of those things you get it scanned, a couple copies, so we can hand them out.
There are card descriptions in the back. So the card descriptions on here some of them were not as descriptive as they should have been. They just basically reiterated what the card said, which didn't answer the question. There was a card and rule clarification section before that, where a lot of the stuff that we had questions about was in, but it's kind of just a hodgepodge of Q&A, really. There's without the Q. There's really no Q. It's just A's thrown in together, kind of in a mix. And, if you can find what you're looking for, if you look at it, they have a lot of words bolded to try to get your attention. But because there's so much bolding in it, you kind of lose all the effect a bold would have. So it doesn't really serve very well for that purpose. So given all of those problems with the rulebook, and it's not really problematic. It is, it definitely got us to learn the game. It's just the cards themselves had a lot of restrictions we had to go back and look at, especially with the iconography. I'm going to probably give this a 7. I think it's a pretty good rulebook. It just has a lot of iconography and a lot of clarifications that would have been better. I think could have been better served.
Not having a cheat sheet with those iconography is really kind of a detriment to the everyday player. We took pictures and did things, but really that should have been kind of included in the game, with considering how much iconography there was.
Mm-hmm.
And the stuff is the iconography was actually pretty unique, and some of the stuff you have to know what that means.
I'm kind of regretting that 7. I'm going to go down to a 6 because of that. I mean, there was a lot of iconography referencing.
And pretty unique. It's not just that it was...
It wasn't intuitive iconography. You had to look at it and think, okay, what does that mean? You have to look here because it doesn't just scream that's what it means.
Exactly. Because, and there's certain ones did, but there are others that didn't. So I feel that. All right, so now let's talk about the actual gameplay of it itself. So basically, the circle of the board determines the rules for the round. And that's why it's called Rulebenders, is because as you gain, because this is basically a territory game in the sense that whoever has the most influence in a given area will decide the rules for the next round, okay? So, starting out, I guess the player is randomly chosen to determine theme, which is basically which deck this marker goes on. And
it's also the decks. I mean, technically, you put out of the 6 decks, the first player gets picked the 4 that go into play.
Correct.
We went ahead and put, because we don't like attacky type games as well, we went ahead and put the 4 least attacky decks in. Didn't end up mattering, but yes, we started out with the 4 least attacky decks.
So basically with that being said, so some of the things that you get at the beginning of the round is, so someone does end up choosing theme, and when someone chooses a theme, though, you can only, at the start of the game, you can only play the cards from that theme and the cards directly adjacent. Now, as you win certain territorial battles, you gain additional benefits. One of them, which does include that you get to start using more of the decks no matter what theme is chosen, and you can kind of go over that here in a minute. So, at the beginning of the game, I am going to get a certain amount of cubes. So we'll just go with 5 this go around. And then I'm also going to draft some cards. Now, I get to choose which of the decks that I want, and this matters for later on. Like I said about picking the cards that you can be able to play. And again, as you gain more influence in a particular area, you can have more card choices and as well as a larger hand-holding size. But I'm just going to randomly choose 3 just to kind of get this game going. All right. So now that we've done this, okay, so during my turn, I've got a couple of options. I'm either going to play a card. Now, here's the thing, though. The cards do cost money. For example, this one here costs
they cost
1.
something.
Well, they cost something. So this one's cost 1, but 1 of what? Now, that is another thing that gets chosen every single round. You either get to pay power cubes, you get to pay cards, or you have to play chips, which is end of game victory points. Okay, so chips are the winning condition. So what are you going to pay will be determined by another player, whoever has the majority in that area. So just kind of keeping that in mind. You may have a lot of these come in, so you may want to use that as your resource, or you may want to have someone, if you notice that like a person has like 7 cards in their hand, you may want to go to chips. That way to force them to lose some of their victory points to play some of their cards. So there's some things that you could do as far as strategy goes around. All right, so you can either play a card or you can place a cube. Now, when I go to place a cube, there's a couple of choices. I can place them in the different territories to gain power or influence or control. But then I can also place them over here, okay? Now, this is the tiebreaker section. So if there is a tie between yellow and green, for an example, when you come across this track, they say, yellow, do you want to break the tie using your symbol? He's going to say, yes, I want to gain control of that. That yellow tie will be removed, put back into the supply.
Except I wouldn't say that because I would be blue. But
right.
Apart from that, yes.
But apart from that, yes. Now, as the rounds continue on this track, you actually go down the track, but no one can go in a spot that's already taken. So because now that the 2 is empty, so someone can go back and place something on the 2 marker because it is now empty. So just kind of keeping that in mind. So that is the tiebreaker. Now, again, like I said, you could place in the territories. Now, certain cards do allow you a special ability that allows you to lock in a cube at that location. So no matter what, you will always have at least 1 influence in that area. And you don't have to worry about getting it removed. Now, when do your cubes removed? It's at the end when you go to trigger to see who has the most territory or the most influence. Whoever has the most influence, they get their cubes removed, but the others stay in that location. So no matter what, there is benefit. Even if you get second place, the benefit is that you have a stronger contending for the next round. Now, I do notice where you only get in this game where we only got 20 cubes. I used all 20 cubes in a round and had the opportunity to get more from the supply, but I could not do it. And that's the other thing. So you get cubes in your play area kind of thing where you can actually use, and then you have some from your supply. Paying attention to the iconography is very important because sometimes it says, oh, take directly from your supply and put it in based on the symbol, or take from your personal supply and put it in. So just paying attention to that. So you play the cube or you play a card. That's pretty much it until everyone passes. So everyone takes their turn until no actions are longer available, and then you continue forward. The one thing I did forget to mention is that there are some trading tokens available. At the beginning of the round, you could possibly earn a trading token. In this case, this is a 3-to-1. So I can change 3 of any resource to the current currency that was chosen earlier around. So in this case, it's cube. So I can change 3 cards for a cube, or I can change 3 chips for a cube. Not a lot of value add there sometimes.
But that's also something that can be won and decided as far as, because you can give everyone 1-to-1 exchange rate, or 2-to-1, or 3-to-1. So strategically, you can try to decide what is most advantageous for you at the time.
Yes, absolutely. Again, that's another thing. So let's go around the thing and see some of the controlling. So obviously so when the end of the round occurs and you're going to trigger, you start over here with this one, which is choosing a theme. Once a theme is chosen, then you go to your hand size. Then the following that is the trading ability. So you can add, yes. And then the next one obviously is the currency. First player along with additional chips, chip income. then you have cubes income, and then you have card income. Okay, so those are the things that you can fight over, so you can determine. Now, I will say, as you win, you can choose to go the track either up or down on the track. Now, if you go up on the track, you get special abilities. So you'll get +1 of a chip or +2 of a card or whatever the case may be, depending on the location that you're talking about. However, and eventually you can claim the victory point tile, or whoever's the furthest player to that at the end of the round or at the end of the game gets that. Now, what if I want to go in the negative direction? Why would we want to do that? Now, the negative direction holds, yes, you get negative, right? So like this case, -1 chit versus what you would get, or -2 chits. So you may end up having to pay. But they have a higher victory point at the end of the game. So you may want to reach that the higher victory points.
It's played over 4 rounds, so early in the game you may want to go towards the positive side, but then later in the game you'll go down tracks on the negative side to get the more victory points, because it's not necessarily you have to reach that chip, because if you get the chip, then it's removed from the board and you're the only one to score it. But if you are the closest to the chip, you will get the full points of that chip as well.
Correct. So there is something to be said for that as well. That is, like you said, you do 4 rounds and you play the cards, you get victory points, and at the end of the game, whoever has the most chips wins.
But the cards themselves are really where the game's meat is. So the cards can do dramatic impact to the game.
Or not, you may not get lucky.
You could get a card that's useless to you, but there's some that just completely rattle the game. So the central cards are always playable. Those are ones that basically are going to generate resources for you. In addition, they have a scoring condition at the bottom on all of them that will give you plus or minus 2 on the movement of the track instead of 1 if you win that track.
That round that it's played.
That round.
That you played the card, so just keeping that in mind.
These do not stay in play. Now, there are some that have an underscore on the names on them, and those will stay in play for you. But those are primarily, if not all, in the decks on all of the different theme decks. Now, the theme decks, the catch there is based upon one of the tracks and how far you've moved up it, you can only play on either the track, the deck that is actually selected, or at the beginning of the game, the one opposite on the board. Now, you can move up it where you'll get to play on the 2 adjacent decks, but this can be very limiting. And if you go down the track, you can get limited to not being able to play any but the deck, or not being able to play any of the themes at all.
Yeah.
So you can be really impacted by that based upon your choice to move up or down that track. Yeah. And you've got similar effects on all of the different tracks where you gain boons for going up, or you lose things by going down, but you get to move more towards the victory points. But the cards are very swingy in this game. And if you do not like luck games, this game is not for you. If you do not like take that games, this game is not for you. There is a lot of attack. Even in the 4 decks we chose, there were a lot of attack cards. And we found, like, we were playing with the dinosaurs and thought we were safe. Well, there's a card in there that kills all the dinosaurs. It completely wiped out. Your dad had just spent all of his money playing ongoing effect dinosaur cards. So they got all wiped all away with that asteroid.
Yeah.
And I had a setup my entire round based upon one of those dinosaur cards that was going to give me a really powerful boost. I lost it before I could play it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then there was one that Heather had that she never ended up playing, was to basically reset the round, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of things that go in with those cards. Some of them are like you said, pretty swingy. Other ones are like, why do I have this card? When uses this to me? So there's a little bit of both in that. But overall, so talking about the overall gameplay and what our feelings around, I thought it was fine. I thought, like you said, there was a little bit of take that, but it wasn't horrible. It wasn't bad. It was kind of there.
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't. You could definitely have someone completely destroy your round, which that can be painful. There were several times it was painful to me where, like you had one where you got to recall all your cubes from the board and then go back and replay them after everybody was done, basically. So you basically were guaranteed to win.
But I had to. But I got that card the round before, and then I got another card that worked really well with it. I mean, like there was a lot of strategy.
Oh, yeah, you had to set up combos.
And the thing is I still lost 4 of them. So I mean, you know, so there's that. I mean, I don't think it was. But you guys, some of your your things were just way more powerful than mine. Even though I got to do one really cool thing.
Yeah. I'm just saying that there's you could think you're winning somewhere and then you're just not. I mean, you allocate all your cubes because you play them one at a time to the board. You go around play one cube, and then somebody's hoarding 100 cubes over here. Watch, it's exaggeration.
Well, but Heather did that the whole entire game.
I know, and Heather did very well from doing so. She didn't win because Kevin was outplaying everybody on the earn money game.
Well, and that's the other thing.
Because he had an engine built up that did it.
Well, I mean, no. Well, I mean, he learned the powerfulness of these cards.
Yes, as a resource game.
And honestly, I want to play again because I do think we were playing a different game. Whether he realized
I think there's more value in those cards than most of the thematic cards, which is that's one of my grievances with the game. Is it seems like that deck should be the weaker of the decks as opposed to the strongest deck out there. And whenever Kevin was able to run that engine of his that he was generating, and those cards don't even stay in play, so it's not like it was really an engine per se. But
he realized how important these things were. I mean, and I don't think we realized how important they were in the game. So there is that. I want to play this again though with keeping that in mind because the reality is so what did he have? Over 28 victory points?
No, he had 40.
Oh, he had 40.
I had 28.
So yeah, number 2 got 28. He got 40 some odd. I only got 17. Like, that's a dramatic difference. So, I'm a little concerned that this game might be a little broken, or only one strategy to win. And I hate one strategy to win.
When
games.
you hit a game called Rulebenders, you kind of expect it's going to be somewhat broken. It didn't go,
but not in a plannable way.
Well, I agree. I think it's complete chaos. But it was kind of fun chaos. I didn't mind it being chaotic, except for the fact when some of the attacks felt like they were targeted in the game. Now, for no reason targeted. It was like, okay, I'm just going to drop my cubes on you, even though it is no benefit to you. And
well, that's player. That's not.
I don't disagree, but it did to me impact my enjoyment of the game when people were dumping for no reason on things. But you could have that happen in any game. But this one, you have a much more of a tendency to see a swing that just comes out of nowhere. There's out of left field.
No, you have to understand.
The board can be wiped.
No, the thing is at the end of the game, this is chaos, right? And you kind of have to understand going into it that it's going to be chaos, and you can't take it personally, I don't think. And I'm fine with that, knowing that going in, hey, guess what? It's going to be chaos. You're just going to have to live with it, do the best you can, and work with it. What I am concerned about, though, is that these may be the winning ticket. And if that's the case, then what's the point of the circle cards? And that's my concern. But again, that's why I wanted to do a playthrough, because if that's the case, then why even get any of the other why even mess with that?
Well, and the other ones are what Kevin used to trigger them multiple times. So you do get, he was able to get benefit by tapping the ones he had in play to trigger those cards again. And that's how he kept getting the resources. So it was a combo of those along with the thematic decks. But the thing is I never once got a tappable card in the entire game. It was just the luck of it. Whatever you draw.
And then they have the set collection. And honestly, the sets were really hard to
They were hard to get, and they were kind of pointless because there's only, in each one of the thematic decks, there's only one of those type of set collection. There's 2 of it, but you can't have 2 of the same name. They have to be differently named. So given the fact you're only playing with 4 of them, in theory, during the game, you could only collect 4, and it's only 10 points if you get all 4 of them. Well, so it's really tough to get
when you consider my in-game was 17, right? But, I mean, but he got like 40-something. When you see that big of a disparity when we're all fresh time players, it feels like something's there might be some unbalancedness or some
Oh, I think there is a lot of an imbalance in this game, but I don't think they care. I think the purpose of the game is to be in balance. And it's kind of, like I said, it's total chaos. And if you don't mind chaos, it's fine.
Well, again, I'm okay with chaos if it means that, but if the center cards are so powerful that that's the only kind of way to win, truly, then I'm going to have a problem.
Well, like I said, I don't think his engine would have worked if he hadn't had those theme cards to kick him off, because you only put them into play one time and then they go away.
Well, no, I know, but like he had like 5 that last round, and he was able. I mean,
well, he had 5, but he also had 3 cards that tapped him again.
Okay.
So that's the thing. You've got to have that engine to keep using them. So I don't think you can just win solely based upon them because they go away. But the fact is he had a very workable engine. I got my engine wiped out that I was trying to build, but none of them were tappable. They were just cards that I had in play that gave me permanent ongoing effects. Your dad got his entire board wiped out on him.
Well,
so it could be a complete swing in the game, devastating swing in this. And then it wasn't just the dinosaurs that had that card. There was other cards that also wiped out things.
Well, they reset the
round.
And so for me, it was fun. It was fine. But it's chaos. And you have to know it's chaos, and you can't get hurt about it. You just got to...
Yeah. I mean...
You just got to do it.
Heather loved this game.
She did.
She really enjoyed it.
And I think Dad did, too. But he likes that rule bending kind of...
Oh, he likes to break games, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't go in expecting it to be a very strategic game. So I enjoyed it for what it was until I kept getting attacked for no reason whatsoever.
No, I think there was absolutely a reason.
When I was losing badly?
Well, the thing is and here's the thing is we knew he was winning, but we couldn't affect him because he wasn't playing the board. Right? And and you only have so many cards, and you kept not giving us cards. Thanks, Randy. So it's your own dang fault.
But,
the way I see it.
I mean, that part of it I thought was pretty cool, that you could actually... That was strategic, where you could actually decide, oh, well, I've got a lot of cards, no one else does. I'm going to make cards the currency for the round. Or you could, I'm going to be generating a ton of cubes, so I'll make cubes currency. Not to mention that limits their ability to put cubes on the board if they're spending them to buy cards. So you can make those kinds of decisions. That part I thought was really well done. I like that a lot. But I think the cards just were so overpowered in some cases and some underpowered. I mean, there was one time I had an entire handed deck of cards that I had in my hand. I could not play any of them because they were dependent on the cubes in my supply. I didn't have any cubes in my supply because I kept getting beat out on the board, and now my cubes were stuck on the board. So there was nothing I could do. Aww. Yeah. So, I mean, you can have that kind of happen. And it's very painful when you're still, because there's no way to discard the cards. There's nothing in there that says at the end of the round you can discard cards if you want to.
Well, I mean, that's why you do your trades.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you would have to do. But at the end of the game, I couldn't even do that because I got myself in a situation where I couldn't trade.
Well, that was your own fault. I feel like it's chaos. You have to understand it's chaos.
Yeah.
Even that with being said, giving it a score, what would you give it?
I think I was kind of teetering between 6 and 7. I'm probably going to go ahead and give it a 6.5. I think that's where I'm at. I think it's a if you're got the right group, this can be a lot of fun.
I think you're right. I think this is strongly dependent on your group. I think I could see certain groups having a blast with this. But I'm with you. I think this is a 6.5. You're going to have the right people to play this.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be fun. I mean, as long as you, like I said, don't take it personally, I think it'll be fine.
I mean, I love the smash-up effect of the decks. Having the mixture of those was a lot of fun. I was a little bummed you couldn't play them a lot of the time. You drew the cards, and then if you didn't get the right combination of where the disc fell, you couldn't play them. They were just sitting in your hand taking up space. So there was kind of some frustration there with that, but I understand why they did it, and I still like that aspect of it, but it was frustrating when you had a handful of cards that were really cool and you couldn't play them because of somebody chose a different location.
All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We had an absolute blast tonight, and hopefully you'll come hang out with us again. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.